Hello. All right. Okay, guys, we are live. So let's begin. So hello everyone. I am Harshal Jain and I am a MERN stack developer. So today we'll be continuing our series. This is the second day of backend development using Node.js, Express, and MongoDB. So if you haven't watched the first day, please at least cover the installation part of Node.js. And if you have some basic knowledge of Node.js or JavaScript, then that's totally fine. Because first of all, we'll be building a very basic API today in Node.js, and then we'll be knowing why Express.js was required, right? Because with Node.js, without learning Express.js, you can still do all the tasks, build all the kinds of API, build anything in the backend part. But why Express.js is used with Node.js, we'll be learning that today, and you'll have a clear overview that Express.js is not such a big thing that it would take days to learn or years to learn. It's not a very big thing. It's just a piece of code which you use with Node.js. Hi, कैसे हो सब? My setup is already done. Yeah, very good. Okay, nice. Okay, so how many of you have watched previous session and was it great? You can just rate it out of 10 first of all. Fine. Only fine. Even I have some experience into Monstack. Okay. सर एक चीज की जेन्युइनली बताना कि आपको सारे सिंटेक्स याद रहते हैं. I have a clear answer for that. That nobody can really learn any kind of syntax. Like I work in different kind of technologies, so it happens when sometimes I really forget the syntax or I make silly mistakes. So it's not like I know everything or I remember everything, but it's like I know how to Google things. Okay, so the most I would say the best skill is how to find things. Like if you have learned Node.js from some resources, later on after 1 year or 5 years, you can still find those resources, right? So this is the method which must be retained. Okay, you don't need to learn everything, like you don't need to know everything to become a full stack developer, but you need to know that where to find things. Like so in future, if suppose I want to build a real-time chat application and I know how to use socket.io, but I forgot the code syntax, so I can simply search on Google and find that. Okay, and nowadays we have AI tools too, so they can actually fix your problems till some extent. But definitely, as a beginner, AI is not recommended. You can search on anything on Google. You can find all your solutions on Google. So if you don't know things, if you aren't able to remember things, that's totally fine. Just write the code and understand the logic for that. Okay, just I would say just know the keywords for that, so that in future you can say that how socket.io works, how HTTP server works in Node.js. You'll get a whole code for that. Like today, we'll be creating an API using HTTP in Node.js. Then we'll be using Express.js for creating the same API. So, you have highlighted words like HTTP Express. So you can directly search for that on Google also, so that if in future you search things, then you can find those easily. Okay. Yes. Okay. Please somebody rate me 100 out of 10. I would be damn happy for that. Yeah, actually, it was good in also understanding the basics of what we were learning here. Okay, so but in interview, how to cope up with this. Okay, so this is a very great doubt for that, how to cope up with this. If I talk about interviews, they are of some kind of specific things, like they won't ask you everything. They won't ask you all of your technologies. But if you are suppose giving an interview for on-stack development, then you need to prepare in that way. Okay, you need to be prepared in that way. And in a lot of interviews, like I have given some interviews, in one interview I was allowed to Google things. Like they just asked me the concepts, and even if the code is a little bit wrong, that's totally fine because I can just search anywhere. But yeah, if you are not allowed to search, definitely you need to be prepared well for that interview also. Okay, so just keep in the mind, the interviewer won't ask you everything. They would just ask you the things which the interview is for mainly, like if it's for Node.js development, they would be asking for Node.js development. Okay, if it's for complete MERN stack, then you need to have complete knowledge of MERN stack. A little bit of error would be fine, but at least you are able to answer everything. Okay, it's like that. Why everyone is writing 10 out of 10? Okay, they were actually rating me for day one video. So this is why they are rating me 10 out of 10. By the way, thank you for rating me. So let's start. And what will we do first of all? So first of all, this specific 15 days of series is basically for backend development. But if you want to learn full stack development, you can check out our paid courses. These 15 days will be totally free for backend. But for full stack development, if you want to learn full stack development online or offline, you can actually go to the description of this course, and I'll just show you here. You can just go to the description, and if you want to purchase the full stack courses, you can check out these. Okay, so here is the first course, which is for full stack development with React.js and Node.js. It's basically MERN stack development. And once you click this, this is actually an online course. Okay, so sometimes first of all, you need to log in, and then you can continue here. So you will see the rates, and if you want to purchase it, then first of all, I would always suggest, before buying anything, things take money. So before buying anything, you can actually check out the things which are mentioned here, the content which is mentioned here. You can see what all the things will be taught here. So it will be starting with the basics, then you would be taught JavaScript, then React.js, then Node.js, etc. Okay, so you can check out things properly, then you can buy any kind of course which is based on your requirement. Okay, so yeah, by the way, this is a very great course, and it would cover all your concepts from beginner level to advanced level. Okay, and if you want to have some offline experience with Geeks for Geeks, you can check out another one. This is actually a offline classroom based program by Geeks for Geeks. And by the way, the benefit of this is that some people might not be finding it great with online learning, so they can actually shift to offline learning. But here, right now, we are having centers in Noida, and from, I guess, from a few days, I think in September, we'll be starting with Gurgaon. So you can just log in and you can find the details when will the next session start in Gurgaon. So you can find the dates also. And if you want some online course, online coaching, you can check out these. Okay. All right. So now we can continue. And one more thing. So till 31st, we have Geek Olympics. So what is Geek Olympics, first of all? So it's a very are we going to see code in 15 days? Yes, you are going to see code in 15 days, and we'll be writing our first piece of code today. All right. So for checking what is Geek Olympics, you can actually go to Geeks for Geeks. And why am I highlighting this? Because you can, okay, I think I need to search it separately. Just search for Geek Olympics. Okay, just a minute. Yeah, you need to just search for Geek Olympics 2023, and you would find the latest Geek Olympics. And this is the Olympics for us, for coders. Okay, there is no such Olympics in real sad life for us, for computer science people. But yeah, Geeks for Geeks has an Olympics for that, and you can just log in and register here. What are the benefits? Here you can see we have different kind of you can say competitions available here. Code Extreme, Geekster, Job Arena. Job Arena is basically for jobs. If you want to get jobs, you can actually check out these. These are basically jobathons and kind of tests which you give through Geeks for Geeks, and then companies will hire you. Okay, based on your ranks, you will get your jobs. Okay, so these are different kind of competitions available here, provided by Geeks for Geeks, and you can check out these. Okay. Then we have Geeks for Geeks flashcard sale, so you can actually enroll for courses in a very less price. You can see this course is available for a very less price, so you can check out and enroll here. And then we have live sessions available at Geeks for Geeks platform. So if you wanna watch some live sessions, suppose today we have a live session for Priya Vajpayee. Okay, so if you wanna click, if you wanna watch this session, you can actually click here, and then it will divert you to the Geeks for Geeks official website. It's free, so you can check out these sessions also. And the perks of this session is, first of all, the knowledge provided by these people. They have high experience in their fields. And one more thing, that in between these sessions you also get some discounts, some kind of perks in the courses, or you can also get some gifts when you are watching these things or when you are giving these exams. Okay, so you can definitely check out this, and if you are interested, definitely participate in these jobathons or coding competitions. They actually help you give an edge, because these competitions basically, first of all, will enhance your skills, and then second, you'll get perks for that, like goodies and different kind of gifts, or you'll also get discounts or gift vouchers. Okay, fine. So do check out this one, and now we can continue. Yeah, the price is actually mentioned here. So if you want an iPad, check out this one. Okay. All right. So now let's continue. And guys, if you have any doubts, you can contact any of the social media handles at Geeks for Geeks. You can check out all the social media handles are actually available here. You can message them, or you can mention your doubts in the comment section, or you can message me directly on Instagram. Okay, so my Instagram handle, I'll just mention my Instagram handle. So 3011. Okay, so you can also search me on LinkedIn. You'll find me there also. Okay, Harshal Jain. All right, so now let's continue with the basic things which are required for Node.js first of all. So let's check that my installation is proper or not. So for that, I can simply go for, I can simply search for CMD in my search panel. Okay, in my search panel, I can simply search for CMD, and this command will open up. Okay, so this window will open up. Okay, so here you can see that right now we don't have anything. To check my installation is proper or not, I have taught how to install Node.js in last video, so please check out that. And actually the last part of that video is very important for the installation. Okay, so you can check out that. So now what we'll do is, to check if Node.js is installed or not, I can simply type node dash version. Okay, so here you can see I get the latest version of Node.js, which is long time support one. If you want to check which version you have, or if you don't have the latest version, you can check by simply going to the official website. So all right, so you can simply go to nodejs.org. How much time it takes to learn backend so we can make decent projects or resume. I would say that give at least 2 weeks, that is 15 days for learning backend, because you would be learning the basic backend, and then you would be learning the database part, then you would be learning how to use backend with front end. Okay, so I'm just only talking about backend, not the front end part. For front end, I would say another 15 days at least, that is HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then basics of React.js. Will we work on a project? Yes, we'll be definitely working on a project, and we'll be building some kind of projects regarding Node.js, and specifically for the backend part, not the front end part. We would be not focusing on front end that much in this specific series. We'll be focusing on how to build APIs using Node.js, Express, and MongoDB. Okay, but yeah, we'll be using a basic kind of front end that is not not that much beautiful or pleasing enough, but definitely we'll be using the APIs to actually show what things happen in the front end part. Okay, so now here you can see we have a version mentioned here, 18.16.1. This is the long-term support one, and which we have installed in the last video. So you can always check out what is the latest version available here. Don't look for the current version, because this might have some bugs, so always go for the LTS one. So here you can see that the version matches with ours. That means we are in the correct page. Okay, so please check out the versions properly, and if there is some upgrade in future, you can just upgrade to that specific version. Okay, so there is always a latest version, and you can always use that latest version. There are much sub changes, like if you see that, suppose if there is 20 version, okay, version 20, there isn't a very big change in that. Okay, so yeah, you can just check out by typing node-v. If you don't get anything, please install node.js by simply watching the last part of day 1, how to get day 1's video. You can simply go to Geeks for Geeks development channel, and then in the playlist section you'll find a playlist of 15 days of backend development. Okay, just go to Geeks for Geeks development channel, and here you will find the playlist, and this video is available here, so you can start by watching the first video. All right, so enough talks. Now what we'll do is, in this same website you can actually go to the about section, and here you can see they have given you a very basic piece of code. Okay, very basic piece of code. So here you can see a very basic API has been created. Okay, so for example, if I say, here you can see we have /n/about. Okay, if I just remove this, what is this? What is this? Okay, by default it's /n, but suppose it's not there, and let's take example for Geeks for Geeks, so that some websites are actually built like that. So here you can see we are at the home page of Geeks for Geeks, right? This is the home page. So what it actually says that whenever you call this home page, okay, without any /home/about/contact us, just the URL, you would get this page as a response. Okay, this is some kind of HTML page. Okay, definitely this code is written in HTML, but some people write code in the backend part also, like in templates, like EJS, PUG, something like that. Okay, but right now you can see whenever I call this URL, something is returned, right? This page has been returned. So similarly, here you can see in this section, here you can see a very basic API has been created. Okay, we'll be calling a URL. You can say 127.0.0.1. This is some kind of IP. Okay, and then you can say its port number is 3000. We'll be writing these things. You can say one URL is being created, something like that. So I'll just call this 127.0.1. Okay, I think the second 0 is also there. Okay, so you need to write 1.0.0.1 colon 3000. Okay, so this is suppose our website URL, and this will only work in your browser, that is in your local computer. So I actually had a very funny incident, and this was from my college. So there was a girl who was actually working with the backend part, or somewhat in the front end part. So in front end or backend, you usually get these kind of URLs for your local computer. Okay, this is actually available in your local computer. If you run this on your local computer, these will work, but in some other part of world you want the same response, it won't work, because this is in your computer. You don't have these things everywhere. So this is the local server, okay, not the global server. So the girl just wrote this URL in a resume and said that I made this website on localhost 3000. So this is a very funny incident, and please don't do these things, because they just show how experienced you are with these things. Okay, so this is a local URL, and this is just for your computer or laptop, not your friend, not anyone. Okay, they can't see your website by visiting this URL. Okay, I hope you got this. Okay, and right now if I just search for it, you can see that actually it's returning me anything, because I haven't used this in my computer. Okay, this code is written in Node.js website, but I haven't used in my computer. Okay, so we'll be writing code in such way that this URL works. Okay, and most probably we'll be writing localhost colon 3000, but in some cases we would be using these kind of URLs also if required. But yeah, you can just consider this just a website link, okay, like google.com, like geeksforgeeks.org, something like that. Okay, usually the website links, or you can say the website names, are in this format, IP address format. Through DNS, a name is assigned, like DNS simply means domain name, I think server, it is domain name. DNS stands for domain name server system. Okay, system. So it basically translates your main URL. Suppose if I called geeksforgeeks.org, this URL is actually converted to somewhat this kind of IP address, and then the data is returned. Okay, so it's like that. So basically, if somebody writes this every time when they want to visit geeksforgeeks.org, it's a bit annoying. That's why a domain name has been provided to every website. Okay, I hope you got this. Now let's continue with this. And one more thing, very important. Right now you can see that Geeks for Geeks has HTTPS. This means that this website has a certificate, and this certificate is actually providing the S keyword here. Okay, so here you can actually see that certification is valid. You can see that the certification of Geeks for Geeks is valid here. Okay, so the websites which are certified, which are secure, you'll always see they start with HTTPS, and the websites which are not secure, they start with HTTP. Okay. भाई यार रिप्लाई कर दिया करो. Okay, where have you messaged me, by the way? All right. So yeah, here you can see if your website is secure, you'll find a certificate like this, and not much details are revealed definitely, but yeah, at least if your website has HTTPS, it's starting from HTTPS, that means it's highly secure for everyone. Or if you're visiting any website, you can always check that it's secure or not by simply finding this keyword HTTP or HTTPS. So if it's HTTP, that means it's not secure. And when you are working with your local machine, you'll always get HTTP. You have to buy this certificate, or you sometimes get these certificates from the services which you have purchased this URL. Okay, so it's like that. But yeah, definitely in local computer you won't get HTTPS, you'll get HTTP kind of URLs. Okay, for local, because it's the security is not much required in this. But in global scale, your website must always contain HTTPS. Please make sure that if you are trying to host your projects later on in some server, or you are creating some big website. Okay, so now we can continue, and let's initialize the Node.js application. All right, so for that, what I can do is I can simply say that let's create a new folder here. Okay, just create a new folder anywhere on your project directory, and here I can just name it as my test proj1. Okay, this is just a test project, not a very big thing. Or you can simply say my proj1, so that you can keep the track on it. Okay, yeah, here. So what we'll do is I'll just open it with VS Code. So now a lot of you might not be familiar with VS Code. So let's install VS Code first, and then we can continue. So for installing VS Code, you just need to do one thing. Just go to your browser. Okay, and then you can simply search for VS Code. Okay, VS Code. Here you can see we got the official website of VS Code. Just click here, and then you can download it for Windows, and if you are rich enough, you can go for Mac OS. So yeah, you can go for Mac OS, Windows, or Linux. You can use VS Code with any kind of OS. Okay, so I'll just download it for Windows, and automatically once I click on that, automatically this will be downloaded. Here you can see this will be downloaded. So it will take a few minutes, and then this setup will be installing the setup. Okay, we have a doubt here. What it says, can you just state one of my doubts, that what is REST API and how it's different from general API things? Okay, so there is a very common doubt, and in last video also someone actually asked me this. So let me just explain you what is a REST API first. So I can actually say that REST API, first of all, what is the full form of REST API? So the full form of REST API is actually Representation State Transfer Application Programming Interface. Sorry, it's Representational State Transfer Application Programming Interface, REST API. Okay, so REST stands for Representational State. So what is an API? First of all, let's answer that. Then we would go for RESTful APIs or REST APIs. Okay, so what is an API? API simply is a service which has been created, right? For example, what is this? What is this? You can see that we are returning hello world. So this is an API. Okay, whenever we call this URL, whenever we call this URL, it would return hello world. That means this is a service which has been created by someone in the backend, and you are using this API in the front end part. Okay, you will return these things through the front end part, right? So this is an API. API simply means that you have created something or somebody else has created things. Like for example, if I take an example of a weather app, okay, weather app. I want to create a weather app and I have a lot of different things also in my website, but I also want to show weather of any city. So do you think I would send people to different parts of the country or the world to actually measure the temperature of different kind of locations and a lot of different things? No, I won't be sending people there. I would be using the services which have been created by some other guy, some other company. Like if I go for a website named as Open Weather, okay, I have been using this a lot of times to actually create, I think, openweathermap.org. So what is this website? This website actually creates API. That means it has created API and anyone can use these APIs for free or some charges. Okay, so this is actually an API. The use of this API is whenever I call these API, okay, the API which they have created, they have provided, I will get temperature or any other knowledge of any country or city. Okay, so I hope you got the basic uses of an API. Okay, so the API can be created by your company and you can use it in your company, or you can use any other person's API like Open Weather, right? So this is the very basic use of API. So let's talk about REST API. So REST API, I would say, is a type of web API that follows the constraints of REST architecture. Okay, so it's actually a standard way for building web services that allow different systems to communicate. Okay, so it's a standard format for building APIs actually. So REST APIs are commonly used in modern web and mobile applications. So you would always hear the term REST API. You won't just hear the term API everywhere. So REST API simply means that the modern way for writing API so that all browsers can understand, and it's actually standard way. Okay, it's a standard way. That means there isn't any new term which I know and you don't know. Okay, so REST API is basically a standard name, standard method for writing APIs, for creating APIs. Okay, so the characters of REST API are different kind of characters, but we'll be seeing the different kind of characters. But right now, just know that it's a standard way for writing APIs. Okay, so there isn't much declaration. Let's see. All right, I think VS Code has been downloaded, so let's install this also. So here you can see that we have a setup of VS Code. Okay, so you can see mine is already installed. So I'll just click on OK. And okay, first of all, I think I would, okay, my VS Code is also running. So I'll just close it. And then you can see that on installation, you'll see something like this. Okay, on installation, on opening the setup, you'll see something like this. So if I just click here, okay, and then here you can see that I accept the agreement, click on next, and here you can see everything is checked here. Okay, so just check everything, then you can just create a desktop icon, click on next, and just install this. Okay, fine. Yes, nowadays you won't just hear the term of only APIs. All APIs are nowadays REST APIs, but yeah, there are different kind of APIs like SOAP APIs, and I have heard different kind of APIs. But in most cases, you would be using REST APIs only. And let's talk about SOAP APIs also. I think we have a doubt also. Okay, yeah, someone has asked directly here what is the difference between REST and SOAP API. Okay, All right, so let's first of all create a setup, then I'll answer your queries. Okay, so our VS Code has been installed, right? After installing VS Code, just check everything whenever you are installing the setup, then we are good to go. So you can see that we created a blank folder. Here, what I'll do is I'll just right click and you can see we have an option open with code. Okay, this is the option which you will get when you just check everything while installing VS Code. Okay, so just make sure you check everything and then you're good to go. So here you can see that we have a folder here which we have created myproj1. So here first command what you need is to initialize your Node.js application. That means you need to tell this folder that here I am going to create a Node.js application. Okay, so for that you can simply say npm init. Okay, you just need to first of all initialize. What will it actually do is it will actually say that you are going to create a package. Inside this package you will be installing different kind of packages like socket.io or different kind of packages which are available in Node.js. But this is the main thing from which your project will start. Main file will be package.json. So we are actually creating package.json file and nothing else. Okay, so this is a shortcut. Here you have just you have just written npm init. Then you can see that we have package name written as myproj1. So if you want to use the same package name, you can just hit enter. Or if you want to change the package name, you can just write the new package name, something like my test, something like this. But I want my proj1, so I'll just hit enter directly. Okay, so you can see we are fine with it. Then you can specify the version like 1.1 point anything like that. But yeah, I just go with this because since we are initializing things, then you can also give it a description by simply writing the description, right? And then you can just hit enter. Then you can see we have an entry point index.js. Okay, so this is important. Can see the first file after package.json to be loaded is index.js. Okay, that means in your in your package.json you are specifying that what file must load after this. So it's actually index.js, but instead of this you can give another name to your file. Suppose if I give it a name of app.js, so this will be the file, app.js will be the file which I would look for. Okay, so if I hit enter, then you can see we have a test command. So I think for testing, I don't have any specific commands right now, so you can just skip it right here. But for later on, we'll be using the test commands later on. Then you can specify the Git repository. If you have worked with Git GitHub, then you know what is a repository. Else you can just skip it. Then you can just skip it. In the author part also, you can just give a name to your author. So it's very great. Like author is Harshal Jain or any other person who is actually creating this backend. Okay, and if I just hit enter, you can see that now my package.json has been created, right? Package.json has been created automatically. So I don't need to remember anything right now. You can just say that your main entry point is app.js and your version is this and your project name is myproj1. That's it. That's it. Okay. So these things are very important and make sure you write things accordingly. So right now you can see that we have app.js as an entry point. So that means my first file to be created, my first file to be loaded from which my APIs are called is app.js. Okay, so I need to create an app.js file. Instead of this, you might have index.js also. Please make sure you check these things properly. If it is index.js, you need to create a file named as index.js and then write the same code which I'll write later on. Okay, so write things accordingly. So right now I'll just say that yeah, we need to create a file app.js. Fine. So that's the way for just setting up Node.js, very basic Node.js application. And right now we will be creating a server, a local server in our computer. Okay, so let's do one thing. We can actually go to the official website. Okay, in the about section, you can see that they have a very basic setup available here. Okay, so what we actually need to do. Fine. So what we actually need to do is you can see they are requiring HTTP package. Okay, so this is an inbuilt package available in Node.js. What we can do with HTTP, we can actually create a local server, first of all. Then there are different use cases, but HTTP packages first use is to create a local server. Okay, so we'll be doing that. What we'll do is we'll be following our method. I won't be following this method because I think that you won't be needing host name because you will change host name anyways. Okay, so we'll just do one thing. Fine. So here what I'll do is I'll first of all import HTTP module, right? How much time it takes to be an interview ready full stack developer for a beginner? I would say at least 6 months. If you want to click bigger companies, at least 6 months you need to give into MERN stack development to actually become some advanced level developer. Okay, right. So here I'll just specify HTTP module or package or anything you name it. Okay, so here you can just say const. Okay, this is some basic JavaScript syntax. Okay, const is a basic JavaScript keyword, and then you are writing HTTP. If you don't know JavaScript, please learn basics of JavaScript because I won't be teaching that right now. So const HTTP equals, and I'll be requiring the package HTTP package. So this package is inbuilt. You don't need to install anything apart, anything from for this HTTP package. Okay, so if you have Node.js, this will work. Okay, this will work. So this is an inbuilt package, comes with Node.js. All right, so now what I'll do is I'll just specify my port. Okay, what can be the port? Port can be anything. Port can be any number. Okay, but yeah, in most cases you'll see your port will be 3000. Okay, so please specify 3000. That is for the backend applications or different kind of application. We have different kind of ports. Okay, so if you have some specific kind of requirement, you can just name this accordingly. Some people named it as 3000. Some people name it as value as 8000. Okay, so it's upon you. It's not any mandatory requirement, but make sure if you are writing port here as 8000, make sure in your same computer or laptop there isn't any other application running on the same port. Okay, running on the same port number. Please make sure that this is a unique port number. Any port number will work, but it must be unique. Okay, so here you can see I've just specified 8000. It's fine. A 3000 will also be fine. In official they have specified 3000, so let's go with 3000 first of all. But yeah, your front end part, if you create front end part, it will be loaded in 3000 by default. So let's name it as 8000 for being safe. Okay, so just name it as 8000 and just try to write it as 8000 whenever you are creating your application. Okay, so HTTP, then we have specified the port. Then what we'll actually do here is we'll just say that const server. So we are going to create an HTTP server. Okay, so this command HTTP dot server actually means that inside HTTP package we have a method named as create server. The use of this create server is just that it would take two parameters, request and response. Very basic JavaScript function. Okay, so this is actually known as a arrow function. Here you, okay, I'm sorry, this is actually known as an arrow function. You can see that we have created an arrow function. What arrow function does, it's a normal function, just like a normal function. It does the same task. It's just that you can see that the very less lines are required, and you can see I don't need to create a separate function with a different name inside this. I can just continue with these. Okay, so this is an arrow function. And what actually happens is, first of all, we are not giving anything in response. We are actually requesting. That means we'll take a request from the user. What can be the request? Request can be send me data for home page, send me data for about page, something like that. Okay, so let's first of all print the URL, whatever the user has requested. Okay, so I'll just print the URL. So request is actually, you can say, a whole object, In this object, I'm actually printing the URL, but right now I'll just print the whole object so that you can see what is actually called whenever you call any specific page. Okay, so we have just specified the page, and what we'll actually do is we'll just start the server. So for starting the server, you need to just say that server, and you need to just say that in which port your server must run. So you have specified the port variable. Okay, so you'll just say that your server will run on 8000 port. Okay, and to see if it's working or not, you need to just create an empty arrow function. Here you can simply say if your server is working properly, it would just return server is running on port number is 8000. Okay, so it's just printing things in a very basic JavaScript format, syntax format. So please learn JavaScript if you still are not able to understand this kind of syntax. But it's very easy syntax, and if you are habitual, if you are not habitual with JavaScript, you'll still be able to understand these, because with time you understand JavaScript also if you're learning Node.js or React.js also. Okay, so yeah, here you can see we have created a very basic server, and what will I actually do is now I'm going to start this. Okay, so for starting this, I just need to write node, then you need to write app dot js. That means your entry point. Okay, so here you can see we are starting with node app.js. Instead of app.js, if you leave this empty, what would actually happen is it would actually go to package.json and then look for the main parameter, okay, main key, and inside main key you have specified app.js, so automatically app.js will be loaded. Okay, but if you have written app.js, well and good, but if you haven't written anything, like you have just specified node, then it would look for package.json. Inside package.json it would look for this line. If you have written index.js file will be loaded. Okay, I hope you're getting this, but right now you have just hard coded app.js, so it's totally fine. So here you can see that server is running on 8000. Once you see this message, it simply means that your server is running fine. Okay, so let's try to understand how actually a URL works whenever you are requesting for something. Okay, so right now you can see it's running on 8000. So what we'll actually do is, to actually see things, we'll be calling this URL. Okay, this URL. So once again, I would repeat, this is in your this is in your local computer. Do not try to send this to any other person. Okay, any port number greater than 1024 should be good to go unless it's currently used by any other process, right? If you're suppose if I have written my front end in port number 3000, my front end is running in port number 3000, and your backend is also running in port number 3000, it would clash. Okay, the browser would get confused what to show, either to show front end or show back end. Okay, that's why ports must be different, and please make sure your port is a lesser range of port is for front end part and a bigger range is for back end part. This is a normal convention which a lot of people use. They have specified 3000 here, but I would say that go for 8000. It's safe, it's a safe play, because in the front end part also you would be using 3000, the back end part also you would be using 3000, so it would stop your application definitely. Okay, so here you just need to write the URL local host 3000. And if you want to show your project to any other friend, if you want to share these URLs, please host it somewhere and then show it, like host in names like geeksforgeeks.org or different kind of URLs available there. You need to buy this kind of domain name and then host your application. You can't share localhost 3000. Okay, so yeah, if I just hit enter, you can actually see right now this. Okay, sorry, it's 8000, my bad. All right, so right now you can see I just called 8000, and here you can see we are getting some logs. Okay, just check out these logs, and I know that this is a very big log, so that's why I told you just print req.url. So here you can see that right now you won't be able to understand this directly, but yeah, this is the format which actually comes every time whenever you fetch some kind of request. Okay, so right now I'll just print req.url. Okay, so let's clear the terminal first of all. Okay, then I would again say that reload. I would just reload it, and here you would actually see. Okay, I think I need to restart this, and yes, so if I just refresh this. Okay, right now we are not getting this. I think as a response we need to give something. So, okay, let's see that. So I'll just write a few lines of code so that we can see a few more things. Okay, so here what we can actually do is we would be returning some things. Okay, we would be returning some things. Okay, so let's say for an example, if your website's homepage has been loaded, that means nothing has been written after that slash. You need to simply write that if req.url equals just a slash, then do something. Else if suppose I would say that req.url equals slash about. Okay, so you would be returning some different kind of response. So it's like that. So for different kind of URLs, you are creating different kind of APIs. You have created an API, yeah, right? This is an API. This is also an API. The second one is also an API. You can create different kind of APIs with different names. Okay, you can either send or receive data also in any API. We'll see that later on. But right now you can see it works like that. Okay, so right now I think this was the issue. We have actually called req.url, and since it's the home page, it doesn't have anything, so it's not printing anything. So what I would do is I would just call the about part. Okay, I would just call the about part. Let's see how it works. So if I say that I am calling the about part, and if I just hit enter, okay, it's still not here. So let's try to write it anyways. All right, fine. So suppose if someone calls the home page, what you want to send, you would just say that res dot write. Suppose I just want to send that home page is called this text. I just want to return this text. I can also return HTML kind of format, right? You can see that I suppose I return h1 tag. Inside h1 tag, I'm returning home page. So this is HTML tag. Okay, this is an HTML tag. So you are returning these kind of things. Okay, so this is a way for returning these things. And right now let's try to end this. First of all, you need to end this anyways. So the problem is, once you write your page, whatever is your response, you need to end that query. Okay, if you don't end this query, it would still look for another response. Okay, so just end this. So just end this. Okay, so in Express.js there is a different format, but in normal Node.js this is the format for returning things. Okay, right now you can see if you call for this, it would return this. Okay, so similarly, about page, so you can just say that for about page also you have to return some kind of website. Okay, I would consider that you are returning some website that is that is available on the backend, like a template engine like EJS or PUG. So you return things like that. So right now I'm just returning a piece of HTML code which is returned in the front end part. Okay, so let's try to use this. Whenever I call this, okay, I think there is a problem with this. I have properly initialized things. Fine, fine, fine. And we have created a server. Okay, fine. And yes, we have done things, but the problem here is I think the naming hasn't been done properly. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, let's do the things first of all with 3000, then we'll see things. Okay, so I'll just close it and localhost colon. Okay, we did a mistake. Okay, we were actually calling 3000 here. Okay, fine. So 8000, and yeah, 8000 here. Let's start this again. Now it's fine. Now it's fine. Okay, so now you can see I've just called this, and if I'm calling the about page, automatically 3000 comes up here. Okay, now it's fine. So you can see that I'm getting about pages h1 tag which has about page text. Okay, so when I call about URL, you can see that I'm getting about page HTML. Okay, suppose I have anything else, I can just write CSS also and make it more beautiful. Like I think for CSS, it's style equals, and I'm not damn sure how to write things that way. I'll just say that the color inline styling. I'm not sure about the inline styling, so let's do one thing. Um, yes, okay. So I can just say that the color is suppose red. Okay, suppose I want the color to be red for home page. And let's do one thing. If somebody calls slash URL or somebody calls slash home, in both cases you would be returning the home page. So it's like that. Okay, so this is just if else condition which are available on JavaScript. And here you can see if somebody calls slash URL, if somebody calls home URL, in any case you would be returning this kind of HTML. If somebody calls about URL, you would be returning this. Suppose somebody calls any else URL which doesn't exist on your website, what you would return? You would return 404 not found, right? So in this case you would simply return some kind of HTML file or anything. You would simply return 404 not found. It's like that. Okay, so let's try to see things. For example, if I just go to the normal URL, okay, right now the CSS didn't work, but anyways, you can see that if I go to slash URL, you can see we have home page. If I go to slash home, you would see this URL. So you can see in both cases, you are getting the same response because of the if else conditions, right? So this is the way to return things. If I suppose write anything else like this, if I click here, you can see that apart from this, okay, just a minute. In the else case, we have specified the else case. I think the code isn't saved. That's why the problem has been happening here. Okay. All right. So I think the 4041 is not working because of the save part. Okay. So let's try to save this. Then we'll be running things again. Okay. So here, let's try to get things, and I'll just close this. I'll just close this, and I'll just save it, and then I'll just restart it. Okay. Fine. Now I think it must work. You can see that now we get 404 not found. Okay, so that's how things work. If you write any other URL except home and about, you can see that we have 404 not found. So that's how you can create very basic APIs in Node.js. Now we haven't used Express.js right now. The port in your browser should be 8000. Yes, thanks for telling it. Okay, why would someone use Node.js without any framework like Express.js? Is there any use case? No. Nowadays, everyone is using Express.js. I could have directly started with Express.js, but the purpose of using Node.js is actually to tell you why not to use Node.js. Okay, so now I would be using Express.js because it's a little bit more easier and a bit more formatted. Okay, so now I'll be using Express.js. Okay, so let's write code for Express.js now. And if you have any doubts regarding this part, one more thing, in response you can also return codes. Okay, HTTP codes. What are HTTP codes? So it's better to search for HTTP codes because there are different kind of HTTP codes, different kind of responses. Suppose for if your website's URL hasn't been found, okay, that means this kind of URL hasn't been found, the HTTP code must be 404. Okay, if your website's URL has been found and the response is correct, your HTTP code, status code must be 200. Okay, there are different kind of codes for different kind of responses. If everything is successful, you would be returning 200. If things fail or if URL is not found, you would be returning different kind of things. So why are we not using Express module? We'll be using Express module. Just wait. I was telling you how to use Node.js directly without Express.js. Now I'll be using the Express.js part. Okay, just wait. So right now let's look into the status codes. Okay, status codes HTTP. You can write it here and you can just go to mozilla.org. Okay, so yeah, here you can see that all the status codes are available here. So it's for informational resources, you have 100 to 199. For successful responses, you can say 200 to 299. For redirectional messages, 300 to 399. Client error response, 400 to 499. That means the internet is not available for client side, or the client has requested something which we don't have, or server error you have returned. If server is not working properly, you'll return these kind of responses. Okay, so all these responses are very important, and please make sure you at least learn these 5 lines, at least 5 lines, because these are majorly asked in a different kind of interviews, and in one interview I wasn't able to answer these properly. So please learn these things, and they are very important for different kind of responses. How they are helpful? So from backend, if you are sending something, if things are successful, how would the front end know thing is that the response is successful? Okay, what's the point? The point is you would be just sending numbers like 200 is for successful response. If I return something like 554, it simply means the error is from the server side. If I return something like 404, the error is from client side. That means client has requested something else, or the internet is not available, things like that. Okay, so these responses are very important, and now we would be returning these responses. Okay, so first of all, what I would do is let's go to the network part. Okay, so I'll just inspect here, and here you would get the uh, console part. Here you can see we are actually getting the inspected part. So I'll just go to the network part. Here you can see right now it's clean. So what I would actually do is, first of all, I'll just click on preserve log so that it doesn't get cleaned every time. Okay, so I'll just split my screen and go here. Okay, so right now if I just refresh this, okay, I just refresh this, so you can see for 404 I'm still getting status of 200. this is an issue, right? This is a non-successful response. This is a not successful response. So why am I returning 200? So that's why you have to specify different kind of numbers. So let's write that. Okay. And by the way, if I go for in any different kind of URL, like suppose instead of this, I write about. So you can see for about also, you would see that this about URL has been called, and you can see that what API has been called. You can see that what API has been called, and what is the port and what is the status code. Okay, so you can actually work with the network part to actually see is your response successful or not. And as a beginner, I would say that please keep an eye on this, because this is very important. Here you'll see all of the things, the headers you provide, the status code you provide to your URL. Okay, so please try to read the things right now, and if you don't know what are these things, anyways you can continue, but yeah, at least try to work with the network panel, see what happens. If you visit geeksforgeeks.org, you can visit the network panel here, and you would see the things happening here. Okay, so just visit any website and see how networks work, how network works here. Okay, so now we would be continuing, and here you can see for about 200 is fine, status code 200 is fine, but for any anonymous URL like home dfggg something like this, you would simply return 404 because this URL is not found. Okay, so for those cases, I'm just assuming two cases. If response is okay, you are returning the status as 200. So by default the status is 200. If you don't write status as 200, it's totally fine. Okay, so here you just need to write status code which is 200 for this case, and similarly 200 for this case, but 404 for this case. Okay, you can create server errors also later on, but right now you would be returning 404 in this case. Okay, so here you can see that right now I have to write 404 here or anything else here if I want, because 404 in most cases if page is not found. Okay, so let's try to call these APIs again. I'll just close this and I'll just open this again. By the way, right now we are closing and opening the server again. Instead of this, you can also use nodemon package which is available. We'll be using this later on, but yeah, for your knowledge, we have things like that so that you don't need to close and open things again and again. Okay, please just make sure that you save things, then you restart the server. Now, if I just go back, and here you can see for about page, if I just click on refresh, you can see for about page I am having things. Don't worry about this fav icon because we haven't specified it. Just go to about, you can see that the response is okay. Suppose if I go to some random URL like this URL, okay, if I click here, you can see now we are getting 404 not found. So this response will be sent to the front end, and the front end will know that we are not getting the response because of what? Because of 404. 404 is what? Client error, because of client, not the server. It's client's problem. Okay, so now these responses are very important, and you need to write the responses if you have some kind of errors, and by default the status code is 200. Okay, so I hope you got the logic of status code and why it is important. Now we would be using second thing, which is the header part. Okay, so header is important. Why header is important? So generally you don't return HTML code. You don't return HTML code. You if you are building some kind of backend and front end in MERN stack, you actually return JSON format data. Okay, right now we here, if I go to about section, you can see we are returning HTML code. Okay, we are returning HTML code. So the header part, in the header part, you can actually specify the type of data which you are returning or which you will accept. Both will work. Okay, so here you need to specify that what kind of data are we returning. We are returning HTML type data. If you're returning JSON format data, then you would specify that I am returning JSON format data. It's like that. So here we'll simply write text/HTML. Okay, it's either a normal text or HTML kind of document. We'll just specify this so that the user will know what kind of data is being returned from the backend. Okay, by default I think it is text/HTML, but yeah, you need to always specify what kind of data you are returning. Okay, so let's write that. For that, you can simply say res dot set header. Okay, so inside this you can just say what is your content type. There are different kind of headers, by the way, but right now we are just talking about the content type. Okay, we'll be using different kind of headers like if you wanna check if someone is logged in or not, in the header part you can actually provide some token and different kind of things for authorization. Okay, so we have different kind of parameters in headers also. You can provide different kind of parameters in header. Right now we will only provide content type, which is text.html. Okay, so we'll just say that the content type is text.html. Okay, text/html, I'm sorry. So we are simply saying that the response which we are sending is of type HTML. You can see this is of HTML type. Okay, and by the way, in most cases, you won't be returning HTML code like this. You would be returning some kind of JSON format data, which we'll be working on to the front end part. Okay, not the HTML part. You can simply return JSON format data to the front end. Okay, you won't be returning HTML in most cases. You would be returning JSON. And someone asked that what about PUG or EJS template? Instead of that, you can create a separate admin panel or different kind of things instead of using a template from backend, because using templates in backend is very less secure because you don't get any extra URL. So your backend URL is at a risk. That's why you would be using some separate kind of front end for admin panel also instead of using templates, and you would be serving backend their part. Okay, so we'll see that later on why we shouldn't use EJS or different kind of templates, and that's a separate thing. But right now you can see that as a response, I'm just saying that my response is of HTML type. I can just copy this, and again I would just say that my response is of, just make sure you are setting header before actually writing this. Okay, just make sure these things, so else you would get some errors. So here you can see these things are fine, and for 404 I don't need to write anything, so I would just leave it as it is. But yeah, if you want to write something, okay, I can simply write this here also, because since this is also a HTML piece of code. Okay, so here you can see things are fine, and now let's try to check these things. If you want to check these things, what you will actually do is you can again go to the network part. You can go to the network part. If I go to this, you can see that okay, I think we need to check this for I'll just do one thing. I'll just reload it. Okay, I'll just close this and restart it. Okay, fine. Now let's try to refresh this. And for refreshing, if I just click on refresh, and now you can see about is called, and yeah, you can see content type is HTML. Okay, so definitely in front end the user can easily check, the client can easily check if the front end developer is working. They can easily check what kind of data is coming from the backend. Now I'll build front end accordingly. Okay, if data coming from backend is HTML type, then I would be serving HTML in my page. If data coming from backend is of JSON format, JavaScript object notation, then I would be merging that JavaScript object notation format into my front end part. There are different parameters, we'll see that later on, but right now I've just told you that these things are very important to return what is the content type, what is the status code, what is actually the content like about page text. Okay, so we have worked on this, and this is Node.js API. Now we'll be working on Express.js API, and it would take at least 5 to 10 minutes. So let's work on that, and now I'll explain what is Express.js API. Okay, so let's work. So for that, so I'll just go to Express.js website so that you have a better idea. You can see we have an official website, and we have an article by GeeksforGeeks also. You can see for installing Express.js, you can see that we have it here. Okay, so I'll just first of all install it. Then you can go to getting started and click on Hello World. So here you can see they have shown us a very basic API. So you can see it looks very readable. You can see that it's very readable. So that's why Express.js is used over the normal Node.js API. Okay, so I hope you got the logic why we were using this and why we would use Express.js. This is actually the old way of writing things. That's it. Okay, this is the old way of writing things. So I'll just say that uh, temp.txt, so that I'll just save the data. I'll just copy this and I'll just save the data. Okay, fine, fine. Now I'll just close the server first of all, and here first of all I need to install Express.js. Okay, so for installing Express.js, you can simply go to the website and simply click on npm install Express.js. Okay, so I'll just paste this command and it would actually install Express.js in my computer. Okay, so yeah, here you can see in the package.json you get a dependency named as express.js. Okay, so at any cost, don't delete package.json. You can delete package log.json, you can delete node modules. If you're sharing this to your friends, you can delete node modules, you can delete package.json. In node modules you have different kind of packages installed, but if somehow you delete this, you can retain it by simply calling package.json. Okay, so this is a very important file. Do not delete this at any cost. Okay, please keep this. Okay, please keep this. This is not a faltu file, this is not a bad file, please keep this. Okay, so right now you can see we have installed express.js, so it will be shown here. Whatever dependencies, whatever packages you have installed externally will be available here. Okay, so we can see we have installed express.js. That means now we can continue with our work. Okay, so now I'll just remove this and I'll just go to their website. Again, we can go to hello world. Here you can see we have a very basic code snippet. Okay, so I'll just copy this and here I'll just paste it. So right now they have just required express.js. Okay, then we have created instance of express. We have specified the port. I'll just say that my port is suppose 8000 again. So here you can see if I call the slash URL, I'm simply sending hello world text. Okay, hello world text. You can return HTML text also, and then you can also specify the res dot you can just you can just type control and space to get different kind of things. You can see res dot status and you can just say that the status is suppose 200. Okay, and actually the way for writing things is this. You can just return things like that, but more better ways, you can simply say res dot status is 200, then you can just send the whatever text you want to send. Okay, so this is the easiest way you can write things. Okay, so similarly you can work on different, you can write a different API. You can say suppose if somebody calls slash about slash about, you can just write things separately. So you can say that for 200 about page. Okay, and yeah, this is the actual method. And for 404 is actually represented by star. If I type express.js 404, you will actually get express.js 404 API. Okay, so they have actually provided different kind of things. You can go to Geeks4Geeks article, and I think this is available here. Let's see what the article says. So please suggest a good web dev project. Tomorrow is deadline for web dev application. They will shortlist based on project. Depends on your experience. If you are experienced guy in web dev, please, I would say that if you have less time, then you can go for a portfolio website, a very awesome looking portfolio website, like with beautiful animations and a beautiful HTML with all the details you have, because this would create a separate impression on everyone. The UI plays a different role in the web dev part. So if you have very less time, you can create a portfolio website. If you have if you can manage to build an e-commerce platform, then go for it. Okay, both ways will work and both are very great projects, because in portfolio most part is the UI part and the information about you. In e-commerce, it actually takes everything, every knowledge you have about the full stack development. Okay, so both ways will work. So right now, yeah, they have specified this, and you can see that if someone, okay, they have actually used this way, right? We have another doubt. Uh, how do you auto complete your code like set header? Okay, so this is a very short trick, and I'm actually using GitHub Copilot. This is some paid subscription thing, but since I have a student ID, I can actually use this. And if you have any friend who has a student ID, you can use their ID to actually use GitHub Copilot for free. And I've been using it more than a year, so it's actually a very great thing to use. But if you are a beginner, you shouldn't use these things, as it just make things easier, so you don't write code usually, so it would actually delay or you would forget things often because of GitHub Copilot. Okay, okay, just a minute. All right, so now you must be wondering about what happens if I specify some random URL. Okay, like this, what must happen? So right now you can see nothing happens, but I want to return 404. How can I return 404? So actually you can read this URL. They are actually calling a middleware. We'll be learning about middlewares later on, but right now you can see that whenever you see this next term, This simply means we are calling a middleware. Okay, short hint. So right now you can see it simply says that when everything has been gone, when everything has been passed, at last whatever is available, just return this. Okay, so at last you have to specify your 404 path. So I'll just copy this. I'll just copy this. Okay, and then I can just go to my beautiful backend. I can just paste it here. Okay, so it simply says that apart from these URLs, if anything is there, you would be returning 404 not found very easily. Okay, so you can see next term is here. It simply means that a middleware is called, and we'll be learning about middlewares later on. But right now, just understand that if these don't work, you can simply return this. Okay, you can simply return this. Okay, so please see that we are using app.get here, app.get here. Here we are using app.use. So we have different purposes for each. We'll see that later on, but right now you can see that for 404 you'd be using app.use. Okay, app.use, because we don't know what kind of URL it would be. Okay, so we are using app.use. So whenever a URL is called somewhat like about 1234 something like this, which isn't specified, this last method will be called. Okay, inside this we have just sent a response of 404 and not found. Okay, so let's try to restart this. I would be just calling. Okay, I'm sorry, I have to call this again. Okay, so let's start this by simply typing node app.js. Okay, so you can see that the example app is listing on 8000. That means our server will work properly. Okay, so now what you would actually do is, if I go here and right now we have about us. Okay, so we have just specified some random URL. If I click on refresh, you can see page not found on the server. Okay, if I go to about, you can see I'm getting about page. So things work like that. Okay, so I hope you got the basic setup part of the Express.js API. And if you still have any doubts regarding this, please ask me right away. And it's same as Node.js APIs which we have created before, but you can see it looks a little bit more cleaner than Node.js. Okay, that's the benefit. Okay, I think a lot of people have a doubt between app.get and app.use. So what's the difference between app.get and app.use? So basically they both are methods to define these APIs. You can see we are defining APIs. We have different kind of methods. App.post is also a method. App.delete is also a method. We'll see that. But app.use is actually a more general purpose method for defining a middleware that will be executed for every incoming request. That means if I call slash, it would at least return something, either a positive or a negative response. Okay, it's actually returning something. Okay, so you can see that app.get is basically used for returning something. Okay, app.use will be working on these kind of APIs, don't worry. But yeah, right now you can see that app.get is actually returning something. Okay, so app.use is used here, and then we have app.get is used here. Okay, now we have app.use. Okay, so app.use is used for calling middlewares. Okay, calling for middlewares. What is middleware, by the way? So middleware simply means something which must happen before returning. Okay, something which must happen before returning. Like anything you can, we'll be working on middlewares later on, but right now middleware is something which must happen, which must be completed before returning your response. So you can create separate middleware function somewhere else in separate files. Then you can call middlewares in your URL. So it actually saves a lot of lines of codes. You don't need to write things again and again. You can call middleware in every piece of URL which you have written. Okay, so right now you can see that app.get and app.use, the main difference between them is app.get is just going to return something, either positive or negative. App.use is going to return something along with calling a middleware. Okay, that's the difference. So this was it for this part, and what we'll do is from the next video we'll be working on different kind of things like app.get, app.post, app.use. So we'll be working on different kind of APIs, but I hope you got the basic setup part and how you are going to use Express.js over Node.js. What is the difference between normal Node.js create server method and this Express.js method? You can see both are almost similar, but Express.js is way more cleaner. And if you want to structure your code folders different, like if you want to create separate folder for routes, you can create separate folder and then paste your code there, and then you can import things very easily. So it makes things convenient for us. So we'll be working on that in next videos, but right now we have just created very basic API, and I hope everything is clear for today. If you have any doubts, you can ask me on the live chat. Okay, kind of default case if none of the URL matches. Right, it's the URL. Yes, someone has mentioned we have a star for this. We have actually star for the 404, but it's not. I would say that it's not recommended that much because there can be different kind of possibilities. Okay, there can be different kind of possibilities. But yeah, star will also work. Instead of this, if you have returned star, suppose if I just call this, okay, this simply means that if someone has called any URL apart from slash or about, this star will be called, and here you can just say 404, 404, okay, sorry, 404 not found. Okay, so this is the thing, and here you can just say your status is 404. Okay, and yeah, just close this. So now let's try to run this, and what you can actually do is now, instead of this node app.js calling again and again restarting, I would simply use nodemon. Okay, nodemon. So for that you need to install nodemon first of all. So npm install nodemon dash chief. This simply makes things globally. So nodemon will be installed globally. You don't need to install it for every project. Okay, that's why I've specified the dash g flag. Okay, so please make sure for installing things globally, that means nodemon will be used in every project, right? You know, nodemon will be used in every project. You can also do the same thing for express.js, but I won't recommend that for express.js. But for at least nodemon, which is not a very important dependency, but it helps you to start things, okay, and without restarting things. Okay, so now nodemon is installed, so I would simply call nodemon, nodemon, okay, nodemon, and I would just call app.js. Okay, so here you can see that now same things will happen, but you don't need to restart server and again. If I just click on, if I just save this, if I just save this, you can see it automatically restarts. So Control S will save things on any page, and you can see it automatically restarts itself by saving things. So you don't need to restart server again and again by yourself. Okay, so that's the benefit of using nodemon here. So what I'll do is now let's check what things happen there. Okay, so if I just refresh this, you can see I'm getting about. If I go to any other page, you can see that I'm getting 404 not found. Okay, so I hope you got this, and I'll just close this here so you can see I'm getting 404 not found. Okay, so I hope you got today's video. If you have any doubt, you can ask me.